Hello everyone, this is Robin, and I thought instead of a tarot video for y'all today, I would take you on a tour, a mini tour of my Hobonichi planner and my study plan, and what all that I am studying, what I'm good at, what I'm not so good at, because this is something that I use daily. Almost religiously and it helps me get through daily life, as a person with ADHD. I started out bullet journaling, and then I found a system that worked for me. I ended up, finding that it actually started with the Path Planner that was, I think it's discontinued. I did try to look at it first, but the Path Planner had a unique way of setting up goals for the year and breaking it down into quarters and then breaking it down into smaller and smaller tasks. And that way of thinking for the Path Planner, I started copying wholesale into my bullet journals whenever I ran out of the Path Planner, and I couldn't get another one. So that one had very similarly vertical days for the weeks, and I, was consistently doing the same things in my bullet journal for the weeks, and I ran into, because I watch a lot of Planner Tube, y'all. So I ran into Hobonichi YouTubers or planners, and I thought, ooh, what's that? When I took a look into it, I found that it was structurally extremely close to what I needed, like almost perfect. And what wasn't perfect, I got to modify from the back pages, and I could just, paste in what I needed for those back pages for reference. So this is working great for me. I regret nothing, never look back, love this, and I don't have to draw out all of the different days and all of the different weeks and all of the different spreads all the time, because they're already made and they're already dated. And yeah, so I love the Hobonichi. I started out really inspired by Coffee Monster Co. With that kind of like memory keeping, stickers, and trying to make it very pretty. And then I realized how much money that would cost to do something like that similar. I would have to make my own stickers and run a business like she did in order to make my spreads for the week like hers, because otherwise it would end up costing me hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So no. No, but I can compromise. I can get like some stickers for like mood tracking, because I really love these bunny stickers. What are they here? In the beginning of the year, I was using these Petite Circles by Perfectly Imperfect Papery. Papeterie, actually. It's Papeterie. Perfectly Imperfect Papeterie. But these bunny emoji stickers are Plan Fantastic emoji buns. Plan Fantastic emoji buns. And I love these. They make me happy every time I look at them. I think they're so adorable. So they keep me like wanting to look at my planner, right? And that's one thing that I've learned over the years, is that if it's not even if it's not at least a little bit pretty, I'm not gonna touch it. It has to be pretty. I really admire the people that can keep their planners super minimal, that can do even like a grayscale or a neutral scale palette. But that's not me. I can't do that. And I don't have to go overboard with stickers. Like I learned, it would cost so much money. So I don't, but I do find ways to make it pretty. And I've also found that I really gravitate toward a warm color palette. Whenever my week is in a cold or neutral color palette, I'm not as excited about looking at it. But whenever it's in a warm color palette, like you see these yellows and light pinks and even red, red here, and then the rainbow, of course. So whether it's bold or whether it's kind of more pastel, I really, really, really gravitate toward overall, I want the pages to look like a warm color palette. That's why I have so many washies in like pinks, and like this is like a salmon. I've got this yellow. I really much, my eye is drawn to color. I've got, you know, yellow, pink. And you can see also my little kitty. I got this from Jet Pens. It was like $20, but it was so worth it. Look at how cute it is. I can spend my earnings the way that I want to, so shush. And you see also here, like we've got some colder ones, like but this goes into like kind of bisexual pride palette territory, which is fine. This is as far as I go into like cold color palette, and the rest of it is pretty like pretty pink and red. I really love pink and red. I have found that, you know, if there's no pink on the page, I'm not gonna be happy. I'm a futch. I'm somewhere between like femme and butch, but if there's no pink on my page, I'm not gonna look at it because it doesn't interest me. So, so one of the ways that I've done to get around that, or to work with that, the cap is off because if I put the cap back on, it's gonna come back off. You know, I had to fix it. So I'm gonna have to get another one because this one is janky now. I broke it. But one of the ways that I make sure that pink is in every, because I do change up the color palettes, I really do. I change up for the seasons and whatever, but I make sure that I have one thing at least that is written in pink. And usually now that is spiritual thoughts about my gods, thoughts about love, thoughts about my friends, anything that makes me like extremely happy, because I want to remember those things. I also like that it makes it easier to go back, even though I don't do strictly memory planning or memory keeping, backfilling. I like that, making sure that all of my like really ecstatic happy memories, or like really sweetness of life memories, I keep in this pink color. Keeps the color palette consistent a little bit. Make sure to bring my eye to what's important. I've covered up most of the places because y'all don't need to see that personal shit sometimes, because like I said, it's a lot of spiritual things, it's a lot of things about my friends, etc. So that's a little bit about how I make it pretty, and so that I want to keep coming back to it, you know, the aesthetic of my planner. The aesthetic is to make it useful. That's how it works for me. Now, what I've done here, obviously I've made it a little bit, like, I've made the colors functional in that I marked off in one color, the yellow in this case, my work hours. And I have marked off in the pink highlighter, the light pink highlighter, I have marked off the goals that are from the monthly page. So in the monthly pages, I have been doing this bi-weekly planning project to see if it works for me, that was inspired by Rachel in Theory. Again, wonderful, minimalist, great, amazing, wonderful ideas, wonderful systems, inspiration, and I can't do the same things that she does. So there was I think it was her that made the which planner type are you? Was it her? I think it was. That made the which planner type are you, and there was the minimalist, the maximalist, the scientist, and the artist. And Rachel in Theory, yeah, it was her. Okay. So Rachel in Theory fell in the minimalist category, and I fell in the artist category, along with Coffee Monster Co. Who would have known? So anyway, so that's, so I've marked the work hours, and then I've marked in a different color my monthly goals and like the things that I'm keeping up and making sure to track how I'm doing it over time. There's no tracking on this page, there are on other pages, but yeah, so that's how I make the color functional. I work on a daily basis, mostly off of a weekly spread like this. It'll just sit open in front of me all day as I'm sitting in front of my computer and working from home. So I'm very lucky to work from home now. But this I use for work only things are done in my Outlook calendar, and that's just the way that I have to do it for work. Works great. And it also is great to keep it separate from my like personal life planner. But this will stay open all day in front of me to make sure that, you know, I will mark some work stuff here just to make sure that I'm getting the things that I need to do for my metrics done. So there's that. But then also it helps me to see where am I working, and my brain is mostly focused on like that Outlook calendar, and where do I have some time to get those monthly goals and those projects and those hobbies done. So so like for here example, in my meal times, I have found that because I'm learning French, for example, we'll get to that. Because I'm learning French, I find that I really do well with Pimsleur. It works for me, and that's what helps me to practice speaking, to get used to my mouth saying the words regularly, to be able to remember and form sentences correctly, especially about very basic things. Like Pimsleur is mostly focused on, I would say that Pimsleur's audience is mostly professional adults that don't have a lot of time. And so I find that I can fit Pimsleur, which is just an audio, well, it's got a reading section too, but mostly the audio is what really, really helps me. It's got an audio, you know, they say it in the language, and then you are supposed to repeat, or you're supposed to say what is the best response to that, and then they'll say it, and then you can check your, you know, whether you said the right thing or not. So I have found that that works best whenever I am, it has to be like morning or midday, or I don't want to do it. If I do it any later than midday, I'm gonna feel tired, my brain is gonna be slower, I'm not gonna pick up on what I'm supposed to be saying, I'm not gonna phrase the grammar correctly, I'm gonna get frustrated, and I'm going to get, you know, I'm gonna feel like I don't want to do this. So, but knowing that Pimsleur really works for me, I want to do it, right? So I need to schedule Pimsleur, and it's 30 minutes at a time, usually 30 minutes at a time. I need to schedule it by midday or earlier. And so I found that scheduling it during my lunch hour really, really works. I can listen to it whenever I'm making lunch. I can listen to it whenever I'm washing dishes, and you know, my roommate doesn't seem to mind that that is when I study French, is whenever I'm doing things in the kitchen mostly. Yeah, so then it really helps me visualize marking off the times. It really helps me visualize when I have a spare moment to breathe. I put in these brain breaks now because I need to remind myself, chill. I put in the brain breaks now, these like a nap here, because I need to remind myself sometimes I don't need to be so high functional all the time. I don't live to be productive. Although I have found a lot of joy in creating things, and in order to have time and energy to create things in this suckfest that we call capitalism, there is some degree of working within the system that I don't like, but I have to work within it, so I try to make things efficient so that they will work for me. And I have had to do that for so long now. I've had to almost like be hyper functional in order to survive, or in order to be okay, generally okay in my life. There's still so much that doesn't get done, but I have had to attempt to be hyper functional in order to cope, because if I'm aiming for 100%, then I might be able to make 60%. I'm a disabled adult. I'm there, and I have lots of things going on in my life. So I just need to make sure that I'm using the tools that I have to do what I can. So that's why I use the planner, but also I need to also now remind myself, please take like 5 minutes, take like 15 minutes, and rest your brain. Because not only, work is draining, what I do for work is draining, I also have this YouTube creative endeavor that I'm trying to do. I love it. It gives me energy sometimes, which is wonderful. It feels fulfilling, and I'm learning French, and I would like to learn other languages. And that also is fulfilling in places, but also like a lot of my hobbies and a lot of my goals are brain on activities, and not just brain on, but brain strain activities. So anyway, so I need to remind myself sometimes to chill out. Now, yeah, so that's why keeping it open during work hours allows me to visualize my day and where I can get like a little bit of something done before work ends, and before like I get to the end of my work day and I'm like, I'm fucking done. I'm so done. I do have here some things that are usually scheduled for after work, but they're things like LingoPie, right? These are relax and watch something in French, either with English subtitles or with French subtitles, or both. LingoPie actually can do both, which is really cool. I think Netflix might be able to do that now too, but don't quote me on that. I do know that I did find out the other day that they connected. I'm not sponsored, by the way. I would love to be sponsored. Hit me up. But but I think that what was I saying? So I think that LingoPie and Netflix did like a cooperation thing, because I found something on Netflix that it was hosted from Netflix, but I was able to get to it via LingoPie. Anyway, the point is, stuff that happens after work and after I'm so done, I never want to speak to anyone ever again, even though I'm going to have to do it again tomorrow. I never want to speak to anyone again. I don't want to look at anyone. I don't want to do anything. I do something that is in service of my goals, that doesn't take as much energy. That's also why I put over here a reference list of easy French tasks. YouTube grammar lessons, I haven't found out if that's easy or not. We'll have to figure that out. Link lessons. I like Link, L-I-N-Q. It's an app. I like Link lessons because you can read it as it's speaking to you, and you can select vocabulary that you want to study more, that you want to learn more, for it to be highlighted in the next text whenever you encounter that vocabulary again. So I find Link pretty easy brain activity. I can just kind of like coast while also spending just a little bit of brain power, like reading something in French and also hearing it spoken. Podcast listening. I don't have to understand 100%. I don't even have to understand 50%. I don't have to understand 30% of what that podcast is saying in that other language. But as long as I'm listening to the podcast, I'm picking up things like intonation, speech patterns. I'm picking up pronunciation, and I'm picking up words. My brain just automatically picks up words that I do know already. And sometimes I can even be like not really focusing, and my brain will work out a problem that I've been trying to figure out. I've been trying to understand this grammar piece for a while, just by picking it up. And I really need to get better about like studying grammar. I really do. I really, really do. I need like a dedicated grammar book. I'm working on it. But like my brain has been trying to piece together like how does this piece of grammar work? And I'll be just like idly listening to a podcast, and at some point my brain will go, oh my God, this doesn't, oh my God, I understand that now. Or I think I get it. And that doesn't happen a lot, and I wouldn't expect that to be the only study method that you use to be able to, that's not going to happen. That's not usually going to happen. I'll just say that. I don't want to give you a false idea here, false hopes. You're not going to just learn a language by absorption. Like, you need some structure. You need some grammar. You need some, other things, especially if you're just idly listening. But like I said, it helps with intonation, helps with pronunciation, helps with like flow, and you can pick out things that you do understand. Now, so I find that like easy tasks like this, I can slot in the 15 minutes or 15 minutes or 15 minutes or 15 minutes. That's supposed to be my brain break, so don't tell anyone I just said that. But after work is when I can slot in some of these easy tasks. And you'll find here sometimes dishes didn't get done, but I did my Pimsleur, and I did the writing in French, and I did Lingopi, and I wrote in French again, and I listened to music in French. And don't look at my brush teeth thing. I don't always track it. I do brush my teeth. I just haven't been marking it. I brush my teeth so regularly now. I used to not, but I do now. I just haven't been writing it down. Because I brush my teeth and I go to sleep and I don't open it again to like whatever. Y'all will forgive me. Now, where was I? Yeah, having a list over here to just easily like, I have a little bit of energy. I don't really want to do something too intense, but I do want to make progress with my French. I'll just come over here to this list and I'll be like, okay, bingo, we'll do drops for vocabulary. It's limited to 5 minutes because I don't pay for it. So the free version is like 5 minutes. You'll get a few more words and vocabulary. And I'm like, perfect, okay, great. Let's see. What else do I do in my Hobonichi? First of all, let's come back to kind of my little outline that I made for myself here. So let's direct it back to that a little bit. In the monthly sections, like I said, I do like goal planning and also finance planning. It helps me to see for the month or for the 2 weeks what bills are due when and which paycheck is gonna, like which paycheck they're gonna come out of. Yeah, I guess language learning was next. So a little bit about, so I really want to learn French. My mother spoke fluent French at one point in her life. I studied a little bit of French in high school, even though I was homeschooled. And we weren't even a religious family, so it wasn't that we were homeschooling for religious reasons. I was just homeschooled because my mom had opinions. I don't know, but I don't agree with all my mom's opinions, okay? But I don't even talk to her anymore. So I'm estranged from my family, just in case you didn't know. So, anyway, so I would really like to learn French. Like I said, my mom spoke fluent French. I studied a little bit of French in high school. French I learned is much easier than Japanese. And the reason I say Japanese in particular is because I actually went to college for Japanese language. I got a bachelor's degree in Asian culture and language. And that's what my degree was. And I was a very different person back then. I had different goals. I was going to go become a translator or whatever. I was going to do the JET program. I was going to study abroad. I had all these plans. I knew where my life was going to go. And then I realized that I was queer. And that I was severely mentally ill. And so I realized at some point that if I go along this track that I was planning on, I'm not going to be myself, and I'm not going to be okay. So plans changed. I tried to change my major, but by then it was too late. I needed to just finish out the degree and get out of there. And my parents were really freaking pissed about that. I did finish the degree, but they were really freaking pissed. Didn't want me to be queer, etc. Anyway, so I did take 4 years of Japanese language in college, at college level courses, and I majored in it. And then I lost it. And the reason why is because immediately after college, I was severely abused. I had to go live back with my parents. I'm not going to go into detail about this, I promise. But I had to go live back with my parents, who were extremely abusive at the time, even more so than in my childhood, adolescence. It got worse. And so now I have the problem of I would really like to pick Japanese back up again, but my memories of how to speak Japanese are all clustered together with trauma memories. And the times when I was severely mentally ill because of said childhood circumstances. So Japanese is something that I would really love to learn again, to get back into it. I haven't studied Japanese in 10 years because after college I had to go into a very intense survival mode. So 10 years later, I have done a lot of therapy now. I really would like to reclaim my original interest and skill, in Japanese, my education in Japanese, but I'm back down to honestly, I'm back down to an A1 level. I'm back down to an A1 level in Japanese, even though I majored in it, because it's been 10 years since I practiced, and because all of that language learning memory and language speaking memory is all clustered together in traumatic stuff that it feels gross and icky to access it. So I gotta work on that. It's a lot of problems. Anyway, so I learned that French was a lot easier than Japanese, not only for my own personal issues, but also because if you look, let me see if I can do this. If you look back here, I have a nifty chart here. Don't look at my study plan. I've had to renew it. I've had to revise it over and over and over again. I would like to start learning German again. So I have written down a lot of different languages and roughly how many hours it takes to become fluent in the language, to reach like C1, C2 language ability in those languages. French, I even planned it out at one point to a 5-year goal and a 3-year goal, and how many hours per week I would have to do. I did not stick to that, but it's a cool thing that I did. So French, about 600 hours. 600 hours of dedicated study to become, C1, C2 in French. Japanese is 2,000 to 3,000 hours to be C1, C2, to be So I actually have, where did it go? It's not there. I think it might be back here. Where did that, there we go. Here we go. So, this is my, to give you an example, to show you, to give you another way of thinking about that difference. The 600 hours versus 2,000 to 3,000 hours to reach that level. 600 hours right here in French, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. In these, if you know, fill in the graph. I've been filling it out since, it looks like February of 2022. My progress in hours, and you can see, you know, this is about par for the course for the level that I'm at now. I'm at about A1, A2 in French now. So I think that's about reasonable. But so then to make it to 600 hours, I just have to spend as much time, you know, that many times, about 6 times what I've done, to make it to fluency in French, to fill this all out and become fluent in French. For Japanese, here's also 100 to 600. I would have to do this, what, for 3,000 hours. 600. 3,000 divided by 600 is 50? Is that right? No, that's so wrong. It is 5. What the fuck is wrong with me? It is 5. So, don't tell anybody I said that. Shut up. What the hell? So 5 times 600 is, yeah, because 10 times 600 would be 6,000, and so half of that is 5. Okay, so 5 times this 600. So I have to not only, this is, you know, I've studied almost 100 hours in French by now, and I have to do that 6 more times to reach like fluency. With Japanese, I would have to take as much time as I've studied in French, and not only do that 6 more times, like I would have to do that 6 times, but then I would have to do that, I would have to do this 600 hours 5 more times. Okay? So that's why whenever I was, you know, gung-ho and I got on the italki and I was like, I want to become fluent in Japanese in X many years, and my Japanese tutor of the day laughed at me. And, you know, maybe that wasn't nice, but like I understand now because I was able to put it in this chart, like in this visual understanding of, look, 5 times this in order to become fluent in Japanese. And no wonder I came out of 4 years of Japanese language in college and I still couldn't reliably speak or understand. Like I could do some. I think that the problem is partially the way that college classes are set up. I don't think that they're set up for my brain or for learning the language in order to, like, I think it's geared toward testing. I think it's geared toward testing. I think it's geared toward rote memorization, and I think it doesn't really allow you to really live into the language, to really like make it a part of you, to make it a part of your day, to make it a part, you know, I know that part of that was I was supposed to go study abroad. That's really what they recommend. I didn't do that. So no wonder I came out of college and I hadn't reached like a C1 or C2 level. I would not say that I could. And I learned how to pass those tests, though. I learned just enough to pass the tests. But I didn't learn how to integrate it into my being. So 10 years later, here we are back at like an A1 level. Oops. Anyway, so that's a little bit about the languages thing. I have really, 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 really been feeling the itch to pick up German and Norwegian again, both. I know that language channels on YouTube recommend usually, one, they recommend that you get a grounding in one language before you pick up another one if you're wanting to pick up multiple and study multiple at a time. At this point, I feel like I'm doing well enough with French that I would like to pick German back up again, and or Norwegian. I did study a little bit of both. A little, I might alternate again. That's maybe what I will do. But I used to alternate between, these days of the week I would study German. These days of the week I would study French. These days of the week I would study Japanese. At the time I tried to pick it back up, it didn't work. We nixed that. I nixed that. And I know that. So that's one strategy, is you can do different languages on different days. I found that was really difficult for me because as soon as I had gotten into the swing of a language and I felt like, oh, I'm learning more, I'm feeling more comfortable, I'm getting more things right for 3 days, at the end of the third day, I'm like, yeah, I'm getting more and more comfortable with like this language again. And then once I started feeling like this feels good, then I would immediately switch to another language and do 3 days of that, and then I would feel like crap again. because I would get from this day to this day and I would be like, but I want to study French, not German, and I would get into the groove of a language and then I would have to pop myself back out of it and have to start all over and reorient myself to the other language. So splitting it up by days didn't really work for me. I feel like if I'm going to study multiple languages at once, me particularly, I need to do like different times of day or different activities or different learning platforms. Like if I'm doing Pimsleur for French, then I would do I don't like Duolingo. Then I would do I don't know, pick an app. I haven't thought about it too much what I would do instead, but I would focus mostly on like I don't know, reading or something in another language that I was at the level that I could read, or I would focus on listening comprehension or something instead of, well, this is mostly listening and speaking, but point being, you get it. I know that language learning polyglot YouTubers recommend that if you're learning multiple languages at once, in order to help your brain cope, you should learn languages from different language families. Previously, I had done that. I was, like I listed, I was doing French, German, and Japanese. Those are all very different language families. But now, I just really want to learn. I really want to be learning, keeping French. I really want to be learning also German and Norwegian. I keep coming back to German and Norwegian. And I keep trying to tell myself, you need to pick one because they're in the same language family. They're too similar. The verbs are gonna, they're gonna mess you up. Norwegian is easier than German. Why don't you learn that one first and then German will be easier? Or then there's the counter advice of like, well, German is harder, so if you learn that one first, Norwegian will be a breeze. And what are you gonna do in each language? What do you want to consume in each language? What are you gonna read? What are you gonna listen to? And there's not a lot of like watching content in either Norwegian or German, but I could probably find books to read if I ordered them online to be shipped to me. I figure I could probably find books, like material to read. I really want to learn both languages, and I'm just indecisive that I can't choose between German and Norwegian because I think that both of them sound really cool, sound really pretty. Elise Speaks on YouTube asserts that German is a really pretty language, and I agree. I really like it. It just feels good in my mouth. I don't know how to say. Like, I don't know how to explain that. Norwegian is also like it has this kind of like bouncy intonation that I really like, and it's also I like it. I don't know. I like it, and I like reading in Norwegian for some reason. Apparently, there are a lot of novels in Norwegian, so I'm in good company there. So anyway, I would like to soon figure out what I can move out of my brain space so that I can make brain space for German and or Norwegian. Now, I have a theory of what that's going to be, because another project that I'm doing, in case you didn't know, which maybe at this point you don't, in my channel because it's new, but I would like to go to grad school in an interfaith seminary context to become a pagan chaplain and or spiritual counselor. I would like to get the degree to do that. For a long time, I held myself back from doing like paid tarot readings, even though I was really good at them and I got a lot of really great reviews, and a lot of people were like, thank you, you really helped me out. I didn't really keep going with that until my mental health was solid, until I had spent a lot of time in therapy, right? Because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't even though you get the messages and you get the advice from tarot, like you read tarot or you channel the divine or whatever, but it has to go through your brain. Your brain is the tool that they are using, that the divine, that gods, whatever, that they are using. So your brain has to be healthy to get clear messages, and your brain has to be filled with good, juicy knowledge. So to do both of those, I went to a lot of therapy, and I am still in therapy. And I would like to go to grad school to get good, juicy knowledge. So, yeah, I held off a long time on my, starting my tarot heart-centered business. Heart-centered business is something that Annmaddox coined. But I held off a long time on doing that because I thought to myself, I know that I'm good at reading tarot. I want to make sure that I don't accidentally say something that hurts more than it helps. And maybe that was a block that I had. Maybe I could have trusted myself more, maybe I could have trusted the divine more, but the point was I had seen people act unethically in tarot and even in therapy. Even people with master's degrees in social work, or even people with doctorates in psychology. I had seen people who were in mental health and or spiritual counseling fields act unethically, and I didn't want to be that person. So that's why I'm in a place now. I feel like now is the good time. I'm getting signs from the divine that now is the good time to start the tarot thing, so I've been more creative with that. I've been making videos with the pick-a-pile readings, and it's going well. I feel I get a lot of fulfillment out of it. I feel like I watch back the messages that came through and I'm like, yeah, that's good. I like that. I feel like I can be proud of what I'm doing. So, and I feel like they can be helpful to people, which is where I'm really like, before in my life I had been like, I need to find a career that doesn't hurt me. I need to find a way to make money that doesn't constantly hurt. So that's kind of where my mental space was at the time back then too. So that was also an issue. Now I'm like, I have a stable job. It's not the best thing, but like it gets me through, allows me to pay my bills. I'm more stable. I've had a lot of more therapy even, and now I'm like, I feel more like my creating tarot readings are coming from this place of wanting to give something beneficial to people and to the world. I feel like that's a much better place to operate from. And I feel like it's also this like place of inspiration and creativity, where I feel inspired by what I create. Not only do I feel inspired to create, but I feel inspired by the result, which is really cool. So anyway, so I have an idea of coming back to where I was. I held off for a long time on doing the tarot thing because I wanted to be ethical. Because I want to be ethical, I want to have good mental health, and I want to have good juicy brain juice. Good juicy brain knowledge. And to get good juicy brain knowledge, I'm going to go to an interfaith seminary as a pagan, to get more grounded and structured learning, not only on religion at large and methods of studying and interacting with and what's the word? Analyzing text. There's a special word for it. What is it? Exegesis. Okay. So I not only want to get like that grounding solid knowledge underneath me, but I also want the wisdom of having gone through a program that is structured to teach you how to lead, to inspire, and leadership kind of becomes a dirty word under capitalism. Like I'm not talking corporate business leadership here. I'm talking like helping people to find the tools and the skills and to grow the skills that they need to self-actualize, which is a lot of what I'm about anyways, you know. So my friend actually, who has gone through the program that I want to go to, was the one that was like, Robin, you have this aversion to the word leadership, and I think it's because people in power have hurt you before, but I need you to understand that that's not all of what leadership is. And I'm like, I don't know, like, sounds fake. And they were like, no, but you can learn. They gave this really funny example of like, okay, so you, Robin, you're like an anarchist or whatever. You want things to be local and community oriented and to be like everybody, like cooperative, like if you've looked up co-op models, unions, co-ops, whatever. So you want that kind of thing. Who do you expect to do the major like pitch in? Who do you expect to do the planning of where all of this is going? It doesn't have to be focused on a central person to be leadership. Even if each individual is pitching in something or is contributing something, at the moment that they are doing that thing, they are exhibiting leadership. They are taking responsibility. They are taking initiative. They are inspiring others. They are helping the group, whatever. So that's leadership too. And I was like, oh shit. Oh shit. Really? Cool. So I really want to go to this program to become just an overall better person. I feel like I'm going to encounter a lot of challenges there, but I'm also going to be pushed to grow a lot, to grow outside of my comfort zone. And I really need that. And also I want to learn how to operate in the world ethically as a spiritual person, as a spiritual counselor, as a tarot reader, as a member of a cooperative, leader, whatever. I want to learn how to do things ethically. So, in order to prepare for grad school, I have to read the Bible. And I got the chronological study version because most of my interest, like I'm kind of vibing with, like, I feel like I understand better the whole Genesis and Exodus parts, because it reminds me more of like pagan mythologies. A lot of the way that they talk about like they talk about magic. They talk about magic in Genesis. They talk about magic all the time, and I've marked every purple thing. I don't know if you can see it with the lighting, but every purple tab is somebody talking about magic. Go figure. And all of the green tabs are things that are paralleling something that was in a pagan mythology somewhere, like where it referenced a very similar story, very similar narrative as like a, what is it, Canaanite or Sumerian or whatever, I can't think right now, Babylonian mythology. Like these cultures in that time period interacted with each other. And even though this is something that survived better than a lot of other things, it still interacts, and it echoes those things, and it's like in conversation with those things, even as it's preserved. Like you can tell from Genesis and Exodus that there was just a very different way of thinking about the world and thinking about divinity, thinking about God or gods, that was a lot more polytheist and or henotheist and or animist. It was really interesting. It is really interesting. And like, I've got other things here. I would have to look in the other. Black tabs are like things that are like, whoa now, abusive. I forget. Gray is like, I'm not sure about that. And I would have to look at what else the rest of it was, but I would have to look at my key to figure it out. But the point is, I got the chronological study version because I figured it would be easier for me to like put it in the context of history, right? Even though I don't think of it as like literal, not everything is literal in there. Most of it is not literal, but there are things that are very historical in there, and I just like organizing it in my brain as a big old pagan. I like organizing it by like time periods of history and the cultures that were being interacted with at the time. So that's why I got the chronological version. But anyway, so the point is, in preparation for grad school, because I'm a pagan and because I grew up an atheist, and then I became a pagan because gods were like, hello, we're here, we exist. So I don't have a basis in the Bible. I have never read this thing before. So this is me reading it for the first time ever. Okay? And I decided to do that, and I had this goal to read the entire thing in a year and a half, roughly, to match up with, I'll finish it by the time I get to grad school. And then I'll be learning about it and whatever, and learning the exegesis and shit, among other things. And I wanted to get the preparation or the start on that because, one, I'd never read it before. I don't want to be behind other people in the classes, but also I needed to make sure that I wasn't gonna read it and burst into flames. Like, not literally. I needed to make sure that I could read it and not get triggered the hell out of my frickin' mind. Okay, so I needed to make sure that I could read it and know where the trouble spots are that are going to set me off, that are going to be like, I hate this so fucking much. I need to find those places now so that I don't encounter them for the first time in grad school. Okay, I know I'm a queer person. I know about Leviticus. My therapist warned me about Judges 19. There are things that I know to look out for, right? And I know that it's steeped in patriarchy. Patriarchy! And I know all of the things that, that homophobic and transphobic Christians hurl at me from a moving car. They have memorized certain things to shout at me as a I hate you, fuck you. So I know that those parts exist. I know that they're in there. I want to encounter them for the first time before I have to write a paper on it. I want to be having my mental crises now before I get into grad school, because I know a lot of people, especially Christians, that go into a Christian grad school, end up having this big crisis of faith because maybe they've never actually read the Bible cover to cover, maybe they've never actually studied it intensely, maybe they've never been encouraged to ask questions about it or to make up their own, analysis or decisions about things. Maybe they didn't know the cultural contexts of things, they were just taught to take it all literally or whatever. Maybe they didn't know that certain things were in there. And so a lot of those people get into grad school and then they start learning this stuff and they start questioning more things. And then they have this crisis of faith and they're like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? Am I even a Christian anymore? Which I laugh, but it happens to a lot of them apparently. My therapist is someone who fields that a lot, actually, who has talked many people through I'm having the grad school crisis of faith in seminary. So yeah, there's this fun joke of seminary is where faith goes to die. which is kind of nihilistic maybe, but or kind of a negative spin, but I think it's born from experiences that happen over and over of what I described, of people going into grad school and then realizing I am not at all in the same world in relation to this text, in relation to this religion as I thought I was. And so they're reassessing their life, they're reassessing their relation to religion, they're reassessing who they are, they're reassessing their relation to their family, they're reassessing their relation to their community, they're reassessing their career, because they're going to seminary to become a minister or something, they're to become ordained, whatever. Anyway, as a pagan, I'm not going to have the same issues going into grad school, but I do want to be prepared, because as a pagan who has never read the Bible before, I want to encounter the shit before I have a freak out about it 3 days before a paper is due. That's pretty much why I'm reading it. But as you can notice here, I did change it over because reading 7 pages a day to keep along with the finishing it in a year and a half, because if you didn't realize, it's freaking chunky. It's chunk. So it's real big. So I measured out, I was like, okay, this many pages in this amount of time, this is how many pages I need to read per day. And it was 7 pages to finish it in a year. I did give myself some extra time because it's a year and a half, but whatever. So 7 pages per day was not working for me. I did not want to look at this thing every day, because I would and have run into things that upset me. And I don't like them. Luckily my therapist, my spiritual counselor is really understanding about this whole process. And so I can text him and be like, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. And he'll be like, oh yeah, that section. Oh yeah, that section. How you doing? with that, and then also watch out for this other thing. I'm like, thank you. So as you can see, I did try to, because daily, 7 pages daily was not working for me, because I needed to put it away and not look at it, not think about it. I needed the space to be able to be really, really angry at it. And so I split it up into like, okay, well, how about I do 14 pages per day? Or no, not per day, 14 pages every other day. And then that will give me a day of relaxation where I don't have to look at it, I don't have to read it, I don't have to think about it. Well, you can see from the like where it's not marked off as complete how well that's going for me. So I'm gonna have to talk to my therapist again, my spiritual counselor, and say, hey, what do I really need to prepare for, actually, before going into grad school as a pagan? Because reading the entire thing for me is maybe a goal too far, maybe a little bit too much for me at the moment. So this is a potential place where I could maybe pick up another language and spend the time there instead. Maybe. So I'll think about it. Anyway, how am I gonna wrap up this video? I might change it to like, I've been reading queer romance because I'm a gushy goo. I want to start reading this again. I know that look, don't at me, okay? This is super gay. It's super gay and bisexual, and nobody freaking tells you that Tolstoy was queer. So like, you see War and Peace, oh my god, it's so long, it's so, and I see this, or like, you may look at this and you think, oh my god, they're trying to posture, oh, they're trying to look, oh, blah, 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 blah. And I look at this and I think, these men are so gay. they love each other. Like, Andre and or Andrew or Andre and Pierre, like, Andre is totally 100% like in love with Pierre, and he hates his wife so much because he's gay. Like, Pierre is bisexual. He is like a bisexual babe, and he loves, like, he has the capacity to love all people, whatever. And Andre is just gay. He's like, look, I didn't want to have a wife in the first place. I'd rather go off to war where all the other men are. And damn, they are hot. And like, it's so gay. Gay. Pierre is bi and Andre is gay. There we go. This is why I read this. I'm not very far in. As you can see, I'm not very far in. But this is why I want to read this. It's gay. I love it. There's also like a lot of French. Not a lot, but there, you know, it's about the French and Russian conflict. They're at war. Oh my god, who would have guessed? But this is about the Russian conflict with France and Napoleon, at least in part of it, at least in this beginning part. So there's a lot of, also, like, France was a big cultural influencer at the time. So there's a lot of je vous encontre conduire. Je vous encontre. Okay. So yeah, there's like French sentences in here that I can practice with. I have no idea what that means. But whatever. The idea is there that I could read the French and understand it. Or, you know, I could use that as a like prompt to like look up what that verb means, because then that would make the sentence clear. Ma chère. I know what that means. thank you so much for thank you so much for sticking through this rambly video. I hope it was entertaining. I certainly had a good time. I had a great time, in fact. And look, you know, doing this video, I didn't record a set of readings, which I meant to do this week. I might still do it this weekend, who knows. But now I have a video that I can upload and feel good about, because I enjoyed this, and I feel like it was illuminating in places. My friend the other day was like, revealing is the negative slant, but illuminating is the positive slant. So it's illuminating. So I hope it's illuminating and not revealing, let's just say. So now I get to cross that off, or some parts of that off, that I did a YouTube video this week. So yay me, go me. And this was a really great time for me to have a brain break a little bit, because I got to like talk about all this stuff. Anyway, need to clean my bathroom this weekend. I've got a service to go to. Here's this comedic independent service that I gotta go to online. Anyway, okay, so that's me, and I gotta go now. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Hit the bell if you want more tarot reading pick-a-pile videos to show up on your feed, and or if you want to see more of this stuff, let me know. If you have any questions, just make sure that they're kind and respectful, and then I will do my best to answer. If you have any questions about learning languages, same thing. Let me know what you thought of the video down in the comments. Have a great day. Bye.